Hey guys, welcome back to Hype RC. In today's video, we're going to be going over the upgrades that we're going to put on our Traxxas TRX4M Bronco. We got this guy in blue. It won our 18th scale challenge. If you didn't see that video, I'll have a link at the end so you can go check that out. But we got a bunch of upgrades to put on this thing from Traxxas and a few other companies. It performed really well, so let's get these upgrades put on there and see if it can even perform better. Stick around to the end and check it out. All right, guys, let's take a quick look at all the upgrades that we're going to put on our Traxxas TRX4M Bronco. We got the Mickey Thompson tires from Traxxas. These look way more aggressive than the BF Goodrich tires that came on it. I am not impressed with these. The Canyon Trails on the Defender are actually performing well, so we're not going to switch those out. But we are going to put these aluminum bodies on the shocks. We're going to rebuild those shocks, put in a little bit heavier weight oil, hopefully get rid of some of that torque twist. We're also going to throw in the Fast Eddy bearing kit, which I hope makes this thing run smoother and helps take some of that torque twist out. We're going to throw in the low range gear set. I also got the 7mm hexes in steel. We're going to throw on the blue pumpkin covers. I got the steel suspension link sets that we're going to put on the bottom. I also got the metal gear set to throw on there as well. And then we've got these Endura negative offset wheels in a gold. I think it'll look really nice with that blue. And I also did purchase the lightest spring that Traxxas sells. I think I'm going to rebuild the shocks with the factory springs that come on it, but if I don't like the way those perform, then maybe we will switch to these lighter set of springs. But for now, let's get all these upgrades put on and take this thing out on the course and see how well it performs. All right, guys, let's go over the performance upgrades that we put on our Traxxas TRX4M, and we are going to start with the metal diff gears that we put in here. We'll go over the pros and cons of all these upgrades. It's a great upgrade. It's not very expensive. You can get your hands on them. They are way more durable and tough than the plastic ones that come on it. I put a little bit of grease on them. They don't run any louder than the plastic factory ones, so there's no con to that. It's all pro, so that is a definite good upgrade. The next thing we did was we put on these plastic Traxxas diff covers on here. The pro is they're aesthetic. It gives it a little bit of bling. The con is they don't add any weight. There's no performance to that whatsoever. They were cheap. I ordered them in a big package order that I did from Traxxas. So if you want a little bit of bling and flair on your ride, they do that, but they don't increase the performance at all. The next upgrade we did were the Mickey Thompson tires. Now, I will say this. They perform a lot better than the BF Goodrich tires that come on this rig. It is a huge improvement over that. But The con is they will not fit on any 1.0 rims out there except for the Traxxas ones. I tried to put these on the Endura rims that I purchased for it. They're not going to fit, and I don't want to cut them up. So the con is that you have to put them on the Traxxas wheels. I don't even have the bead locks. These are just the factory ones. So we're going to try a few wheel and tire combos on this thing to get it where It should be. I would like to see somebody come out with metal bead locks that fit the Traxxas tires, because I really actually like these Mickey Thompsons, but we're going to have to wait and see if somebody does that. Next thing we did is we put the aluminum shock bodies on this. So I took these shocks off and completely rebuilt them, and they work way better. I used a 20 weight oil. Probably should have went with maybe a 30 or 35, but the 20 did pretty good. It didn't take all the torque twist out, but it did take a lot. But after rebuilding them, they're not leaking. They're performing very well. And I just bought the shock bodies themselves. I didn't buy that kit. That kit, in my opinion, is overpriced, but if you can buy just the aluminum shock bodies themselves and rebuild them, they perform very well. I like them. I'm going to put a little bit heavier weight, you know, so the only con to doing that is it's messy. You know, it just, anytime you're messing with shock oil, it's messy, it's oily or whatever. But other than that, $12 for the front, $12 for the back is a great upgrade for the shocks. Traxxas does an extremely good job with their 10th and 18th scale shocks, so highly recommend those aluminum shock bodies. The next upgrade we did was the suspension links, so we went with the steel ones, which are good. They are way stiffer than the plastic ones that come on, so that's the pro, but the con is they are expensive. The steel ones, in my opinion, were overpriced. The aluminum ones are extremely overpriced, so if you were out shopping for suspension links for this thing, I would look somewhere else. I like the steel ones. They are nice. They add a little bit of weight down low, but in my opinion, the con to them is they are overpriced, and you have some out there on the market from some other companies that you could probably pick up for half the price that I paid for these. So you might want to look somewhere else for those. The upgrade that we did were the low gears, and they make this thing modulate so slow, and it crawls way better than what it did with the factory gears. So that is the pro, but the con is you lose all of your top end. There's no top end left in this thing. It is gone. So depending on what you're doing with it, that may not affect what you want to do with your rig. I like wheel speed too, so maybe I'm going to keep the low gears in it, but maybe a motor upgrade coming down the road. I don't know if I'm going to do a brushed or a brushless. So pro is modulation, torque, it's fantastic. Con is you lose a lot of your top end, if not all of it. So that's something you have to keep in mind if you do that. The next one we did was the steering link up front. Now, it comes with a steel servo horn that you put on here, which is a huge upgrade over the factory plastic one. But the steering link arm itself, I don't like the design. It doesn't come with ball ends on it. It literally comes with a little bushing that sits below, and the screw travels up past that and holds them in place. And I just don't like the design. I'm not sold on it. There's some out there on the market that do have ball ends. I'm definitely going to take a look at upgrading to those. But so pro is that you get aluminum or a steel arm with it, but the link itself is not. It's not good. I don't like the design, and you'll have to, that's my opinion, but I think you can do better elsewhere. There's some out there on the market right now that are really nice that have the ball ends in them, so you might want to take a look at those. So pros is it stiffens it up. Con is I don't particularly like the design. I think that there's room for improvement there from Traxxas, and there are definitely some out there on the market you can go with. Now, I've also got 3 free upgrades that you can do to this. Number one, you can move your ESC and your rear shock forward 1 hole, and that tips that shock forward and helps out a bunch on climbing. It also moves just a tiny bit of the weight. Anytime you can move any weight forward in your crawling rigs, that's always beneficial. The next free mod I did, which everybody knows about, is I put the heat shrink over the O-rings on these axles to keep the O-ring from slipping off and the pin from falling out. I'm definitely going to take a look at upgrading these axles. There's a few aftermarket companies that got some pretty nice looking ones out there that I'm going to take a look at to do the next round of upgrades on this thing. And then the last one I did, when you put the low gears in this guy, the motor runs quite a bit hotter. Now, it's not overly hot to where it's going to burn it up, but that sticker wrapped around the motor just acts as insulation. So I took that off, took some rubbing alcohol, cleaned all the adhesive off of it, and it'll run just a little bit cooler. So anytime you can get your motor just to be a little bit cooler, that is always beneficial, and it's a free upgrade and mod for your truck. You know, if you can get the motor to run a little bit cooler and get that insulation glue and sticker off there, you know, it's a free mod. Why not? So All in all, most of the Traxxas upgrades I did on this are good. I think that Traxxas is overpriced some of their upgrades to almost ridiculous prices. So you need to shop around and take a look out there on the market. Do your research, find out what works best for you and the money that you have to spend, and don't just bite on Traxxas upgrades just because they're there and possibly available at that time. But you can take this rig and do a lot of really cool things with it. I've still got my Defender that we're going to turn into a trail truck. I've got to break that thing down. The last upgrade that we did were the fast Eddy bearings, and the pro to those are that Fast Eddy sells a great bearing for a decent price. I always go with them on my bashers and my crawlers. Fast Eddy is a great company. They deliver unbelievably fast. The only con to that upgrade is you better like wrenching, because you are basically going to strip this guy almost all the way down. There's very few things left on the frame, and if you don't like wrenching, you're not going to enjoy putting a bearing kit in this thing. If you just want to stick with the bushings, it's going to do well, but I did notice a uptick in performance and that torque twist. I believe a lot of that has to do with those bushings. So if you're going to go out and get a bearing kit, I highly recommend the Fast Eddy kits. They've been in this game for a long time, and they make a really good product for a really good price. So in my opinion, it's hard to beat the Fast Eddy bearing company. And I like wrenching, so I had a great time taking this thing, stripping it down, and putting all those in and getting all those bushings out. But anyways, guys, don't forget to support your local hobby shops. Hit that subscribe and like button for me. Bash, crawl, repeat. We'll see you next time.